All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, big fight tonight. Teofimo Lopez versus Jamaine Ortiz. Big fight for the WBO 140-pound championship, and it very well could be an upset tonight if the following happens. I was asked to do a prediction video, so this is what I'm going to do. Going to tell you what I think is going to happen and what the big risk for Teofimo Lopez is in this fight. Let's talk about that in this video. All right. We got a fight night on Thursday night between Teofimo Lopez. Fights for Top Rank Promotions. The WBO 140-pound world champion is fighting the former 135-pound title contender, Jamaine Ortiz, for his title on ESPN on Thursday night. And there's big risks out here for Teofimo Lopez, and I'm going to tell you what they are and give you a prediction about what is going to happen in the fight. But before I do, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button. Also, thank you guys so much for continuing to support the channel. Y'all do not want to miss this fight tonight because, man, Teofimo Lopez is one of the best young fighters in boxing, one of the best fighters in boxing. Hit a hurdle when he lost to George Kambosos and lost the titles, the 4 titles that he had at 135 pounds. But he rebounded after a close fight with Sandor Martin and wins a championship against the former undisputed champion, Josh Taylor. So his stock is riding very, very high right now. Jamaine Ortiz is a good fighter. I do believe he goes by the alias, the Technician. Not necessarily the most explosive fighter in the world, but technically sound fighter, a big fighter for that weight class, as you could tell in the weigh-in if you hadn't had an opportunity to see it. Strong, do believe he can take a punch, but as far as the talent level between the two of them, I think it's a clear advantage to the much more athletic and explosive Teofimo Lopez. But Teofimo Lopez is a problem, which is why I say, hey, man, do not be completely shocked if Jamaine Ortiz wins this fight. And that is that Jamaine Ortiz has Teofimo Lopez has a bad habit of fighting down to his competition. And by that, I mean, when he's in there with somebody that is terrific, he performed terrifically. For example, Vasily Lomachenko, even though the fight was kind of close, I think Teofimo Lopez won it, and that was against a guy that is a top, considered to be a top pound for pound fighter. No easy fight there, right? And he won the fight. Then he fights another guy that was a pound for pound top guy at 140 pounds in Josh Taylor, undefeated fighter in Josh Taylor, and he's able to pull that out in a fight that looked pretty easy or looked like a very convincing win for him, and it got more convincing as the fight went on. A real separation in talent in that particular fight. So you know that he can perform at the highest level of the sport, and when he's at his best, what he does at his best. The problem with Teofimo Lopez is what he does when he is not at his best. And again, 2 other examples of fights. George Kambosos, where he lost his titles to George Kambosos at 135 in a fight that he was a heavy favorite to win. And then subsequent to that, when he goes up to 140 pounds and he fights Sandor Martin and had a close fight that some people actually think he lost. I do believe he got knocked down in that fight. So you really have to worry about the up and down nature of the performances for Teofimo Lopez and whether or not he's really going to feel extremely motivated and challenged by the fight with Jamaine Ortiz. So I'm going to tell you when I go through it and I tell you what's going to happen. That's why I say, hey, man, do not be surprised if something goes south for Teofimo Lopez with Jermaine Taylor. But that's not what I think is going to happen. Having seen him on the scale and seeing what he looked like on the scale, he looked, and shout out to Kyle Porter, who asked me in the live stream what I thought about the fact that he looked so thin. Well, number one, he didn't have a ceremonial weigh-in. It was a real weigh-in where you actually got to see what he looked like on the scale. So I doubt very much that he was drained. He just looked in tremendous physical shape, right, for that fight. Also, he knows that the last time that he fought and defended a title against a guy that he was in a favorite to beat, he wound up losing. So I think that he is going to be much more physically focused and he's going to be much more on in this fight. There's some things that were said by Bob Arum about Teofimo Lopez and said, look, man, Teofimo Lopez can be a star, a big star in the sport if he continues to stay focused like he's focused right now. So I got Teofimo Lopez beating Jamaine Ortiz in the fight. I think more than likely it's going to go the distance. I don't see a knockout because I think Jamaine Ortiz is a guy that can take a shot, but I just don't think that Jamaine Ortiz is the level of fighter that Teofimo Lopez is. So my bet would, if you were actually going to be betting on the fight, would be take the over on the fight. And to take Teofimo Lopez in a decision win. That's the way that I see it going. And honestly, that's the way I hope takes place because I think Teofimo Lopez is very good for the sport. Even though he's, talks out the side of his neck about some things, insulted Puerto Rican fighters, just says things that talked about, Bruce Lee's book. Somebody said that he mispronounced some word in the title of Bruce Lee's book. I mean, he's kind of out there with some stuff that he does, but at the same time, man, I think that he brings a lot of interest to the sport, and it's actually fun watching him fight in the ring because he's so skilled. Now, technically, there's some things that what puts him at risk. The fact that he fights with his hands low. I do believe that he is susceptible to getting hit with counter right hands a good bit, but I don't think any fighter is perfect, and I don't think Jamaine Ortiz is packing enough punch in order to make that, in order to make anything really take place or really keep Teofimo Lopez off of him. Also, that's the hand speed and the quickness of Teofimo Lopez that I think is really a big deal. And I think is going to be the difference in the fight. Also, man, there's some other fights that I would be bad of me if I did not mention a couple of the other fights that I'm looking forward to, like Keyshawn Davis fighting Jose Pedraza. Jose Pedraza is coming back down to 135 for the first time in maybe 4 or 5 fights. And he is somebody that's been a veteran of he's a 2-time world champion and a veteran of several other world championship fights. So experientially, he's got something to give to Keyshawn Davis. I just don't know if Keyshawn Davis is really, if he's not just too talented for him in this particular instance. Also looking forward to the fight with Abdullah Mason. So we're going to see some more of Abdullah Mason. All around a very good top-ranked card, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.